We'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting, January the 19th, 2021. At this time, if we'll stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay, we'll pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I would like to welcome each of you to tonight's meeting, January the 19th, 2021. At this time, I will amend the agenda. Under items of individual consideration, we have 5.1, which is personnel changes. 5.2 will be the Value Adjustment Board appointment. 5.3 will be mental health provider contract. 5.4 will be extended COVID leave, and 5.5 will be parent contact specialist contract. Those will be under individual consideration. And the 5.5 is being pulled from consent agenda due to it's a contract, and Ms. Joseph wanted us to review the contract and vote on it individually. Does everyone have the changes? Ms. Williamson, do you have the changes?
The consent is the 4.0.
Yes, thank you, Barry, I do.
That, and it'll be under individual.
Oh, 4.3.
4.3.
5.3.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
4.5 did you take?
No, 4.3 under consent
Oh,
will become 5.5 under individual.
I see.
Okay, at this time, we will open it for public comment. There's no public comment tonight. We will go to the consent items. Under the consent items, we have 4.1, which is the minutes from the December the 21st meeting. 4.2 under consent items is Perkins Secondary Grant, which is $37,909. That covered a CTE teacher at the high school, a CNA teacher. 4.3 is Parent Contact Specialist, which has been pulled and it's under individual. I will go ahead and explain that. That is a truancy and individual to help locate children that are not in the system that were in the system. 4.4 under individual consent is the 5-year work plan, the facilities work plan, and 4.5 is the phone system support with United Data Technologies, $26,045.08. That would be the items under the consent. Is there a motion for the consent items?
Can I ask one thing?
Yes.
On 4.5, the only backup is the spreadsheet that's got the price. Is there a contract that needs to be signed for that, or is it just?
No, it's a quote for a 3-year support term.
Okay.
But there's no contract, it's just a.
So the board just needs to approve the figure and then
Yes.
that'll be fine. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second,
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Ms. Williamson. At this time, is there any discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Ms. Williamson. All those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approve.
Ms. Bell,
Approve.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
approve.
and I also approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay, 5.1, personnel changes. Dr. Blue.
Happy belated New Year to all of you. Good to see y'all. I missed y'all on last meeting. That was my birthday. But before I present personnel changes, I would like to make some changes before you approve it. If you look at Eric Mathis, you see that his end date is 6/3. It should be 6/4 because he's a teacher. Para's in on 6/3, and he's a teacher. And also at the bottom for Barbara Thomas, it should be assistant principal, teacher on special assignment.
None of mine came through.
And I apologize to the board for the mistakes, but I want to get them correct on tonight before it's approved.
Okay. Okay, thank you. At this time, is there a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I make the motion to approve the personnel changes with the changes that Dr. Blue pointed out to us.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Carroll. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, it was been properly moved by Ms. Williamson, seconded by Mr. Carroll. If there's no discussion, Mr. Carroll,
Approve.
approved. Ms. Bell,
Approved.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I too approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
Thank you, board.
Thank you,
Brother
Dr.
Chair.
Blue. Okay, item number 5.2, Value Adjustment Board appointment. The individual, as the school board, we had to appoint a business owner, and I've contacted Margaret Ann Smith of Smith Abstract here in town, Margaret Ann Smith Cooper, and she's agreed to be our representative as a business owner on the Value Adjustment Board. Is there a motion to,
I move to approve Margaret Ann Smith Cooper as our representative for the Value Adjustment Board.
okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Is there any discussion? Okay. If there's no discussion, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Ms. Bell. All those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approve.
Ms. Bell,
Approve.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I too approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
And, Mr. Chairman, we've already approved a
Yes.
board member? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay. 5.3, mental health provider contract, Mr. Blue.
Brother Chair and Board, this is for a grant that we receive with the ESE department, Ms. Ritchie. It was for $93,232, and we're going to hire 2 mental health counselors. One is going to be full-time and one is going to be part-time. And we put a service agreement together. We want you to review it and approve it for the 2 people that we're going to hire.
And this is only a temporary thing, right?
Yes,
It's a
ma'am.
grant, so in other words, the grant's going to expire, so.
Yes, ma'am.
When it expires, those people will be.
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Yes.
They won't be added to our staffing table.
Yes,
That's why
thank
we're
you.
doing the contract.
Yeah. Mhm. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the mental health provider contract?
I move to approve.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Ms. Bell. All those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approve.
Ms. Bell,
Approve.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I too approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, and thank you, Dr. Blue.
Thank you, Brother Chair and Board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5.4, extended COVID leave. Ms. Joseph.
Okay, back in December 31st, 2020, the Extended Family Medical Leave Act specific to COVID expired. And what that did, if a person were identified as having COVID or being a close contact the federal government allowed us to let them have 10 days of leave time, and they are 1 day supposed to reimburse us for that. But like I say, 1 day. But that expired on the 31st. And so we know COVID is still here. And so our compassion and grace, okay, we've got to look at this. We know COVID is still rampant around Madison County. And so I'm asking the board to compensate the employee for up to 7 days if they are identified as having COVID or either a close contact. And the reason for the 7 days is that CDC has come out with some more modified guidelines, so they don't have to go those 14 days as before. And so we're asking you to allow our employees through March 31st, 7 days for COVID leave, and it's only for them, not for their family.
It's just that they have COVID, right? Because if they're a contact, they're essential employees, and so they can still come to work.
I had put contact, I put close contact because we have to be careful. Sometimes it's a few of them, just in case we wanted to cover ourselves. So we're asking for, if they're tested positive or they're close contact and we can't find them an isolated situation at work. We're going to try to get them back at work. We're going to try to keep them at work, but we don't want to put anyone in harm's way.
So in other words, if they've had contact, they can come to work if you can find them in an isolated place.
Yes.
But if they are recognized and with COVID, then they'll take advantage of the 7-day.
Yes.
Only them, not their children.
Not
and-
their
no,
children,
no.
not stay home to care. They
I-
can
I-
always stay home, but they'll have to use their personal
Right.
days.
I understand.
And so I'm recommending to the board that we approve this plan. Retroactive back to January 1, because we've got some people out now with COVID.
Okay. With that being said, is there a motion?
I move we,
Okay, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion?
who will try to find the isolated,
The school
Job for them to
personnel will try to find something for them to do on campus.
now this is all school personnel, not just teachers, is it? Or
It's
what?
all school personnel.
All school personnel, okay.
It pertains to all school personnel. For example, if we've got a bus driver close contact,
Right.
we may be able to find, we really can't find anything for him to do, as opposed to, at one school, we had a paraprofessional that was a close contact, but she was able to change and do something that was that put her in isolation
Right.
from other people. That's the kind of things that might be, take them out of their comfort zone for a little bit, but they'll get them, keep them at work and keep them on site. We will do our best.
Right, gotcha. I'm good.
Okay, with that being said, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Ms. Bell. At this time, we will vote. Mr. Carroll,
I approve.
Ms. Bell,
Approve.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I too approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. In 5.5, the parent contact specialist contract. Ms. Joseph.
Okay, I'm gonna let Ms. Hill, explain that, and then I'll have something to say after she completes that.
In our return to school plan for second semester, one of the things that the Department of Education is requiring of all districts is that we get more involved in our truancy tracking, especially when it comes to pre-K and kindergarten students. Our numbers for pre-K this year were down 35%. And that's not just here, that's across the state. And so what they're looking at is trying to go out and find those students and get them back into school. In addition to those that just never came in pre-K and even some kindergartners, they want us to make sure that we are getting those students that are out on the fringes that maybe are in distance learning but aren't signing on, or they say that they're doing some type of program, but they can't provide any evidence of being involved. And so they're really pushing the districts to get more resources tied into getting students back to school. And so we are looking at taking some of our CARES money, combining it with some SAI money, and contracting with individuals who are actually from the communities that our schools serve to go out and make these home contacts and try to get these students back into one of our learning modalities. We can't just say they got to come back to brick and mortar, but we have to get them back into one of our programs that we offer. And so we're looking at contracting hours with someone who knows the families in Greenville, someone who knows the families in Lee and Pinetta and Madison, so that they can go and knock on the doors and find out where the students are. We have a lot of reporting that we're going to have to do to the Department of Education to show that we've done this. And so by being able to contract with these individuals, when they go out, they'll fill out forms. It's all part of our truancy tracking process. And hopefully we'll get some of these students back into school so that their education will take place. Just today, we found out about 3 students that the parent did not have them in any education program the first half of the school year. Parent just did not want them going to school and possibly bringing COVID home, or them getting COVID. And so that parent just did not have the students enrolled in anything. But we don't have the manpower right now to be able to go out and find those students. We've been calling and trying, but a lot of the phone numbers don't work. And so we need these people to be able to go out and meet with these parents to say, your kids need to be in school.
Now, in addition to that, if you approve it, we need you to give me permission to, once we find these people, to put them to work rather than having to bring the names back to the board, because we saw on the timeline also, we need them here by FTE if possible.
Mrs. Hill, about how many students are we talking about here?
Well, if you look at our numbers,
I know you can't be exact, but I just had
I can't give you our latest numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As of today, we have about 1,900 students that are in one of our educational programs within the district. Now, I'm not talking about charters or DJJ, but just the traditional schools. We have 1,914 that if we were going to generate FTE today, that's how many we would have that have shown up for some program. In our distance learning program, we are down, we sent 214 back to school. Some of those we sent to school because they weren't logging on, they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. However, there are 183 that are still left in the distance learning program. Over 50, their parent had to sign the waiver for them to stay in distance learning, even though their grades were not high enough. And so some of those were those ones that just weren't signing on. We are looking at probably, I would say, between 70 and 100 students that are out there, maybe signed up for homeschool but not doing anything. Some of them aren't signed up for anything. We probably have another 20 to 30 that are signed up for distance learning but aren't signing on. And so I think with these folks going out and making these home visits, we really could look at if we could get all of those back in up to 100 students.
Well, if they're not signing in, that means they're doing nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Basically, and that's illegal, actually. You're preventing your child from getting an education. So
Right.
it's-
So you're saying up to 100 students who's not in the system now? Or these would be students who are in the system or new FTE?
I would say some of them are in the system, maybe
But just not-
20 or so, but we didn't generate FTE because they didn't participate during
Right.
that FTE window.
What has our homeschool historically been? Because that looks awfully high from what,
Last year, homeschool was up around 180.
okay.
So yeah, it jumped drastically this year.
I wonder if there's a way that we could reach out to, which I know that's an impossible job, but maybe with the people we hire that could reach out to the homeschool and ask, is there anything we could do for you, or how's it going? Just a conversation of how's it going, or, I mean, the question I have is, and I'm not saying, there are parents here in the district who I'm sure do a fabulous job with it, who buy the curriculum, who maybe are teachers, who maybe have hired a teacher to consult with, but then you and I know that there's parents who do not do that. There's parents who are working full-time, who have no curriculum, and I mean, those are the kids that when they decide to come back, or if they never come back, what type of life are they going to have not being able to be prepared for anything?
Right. Well, and some of the students that we need to reach out to are homeschool students who have not turned in their annual evaluations, because the state requires that they turn in those evaluations every year. But I'm having trouble getting some of them to turn in the evaluations. Well, probably it's because they're not doing them. They're not doing anything, so they can't turn in an evaluation.
So at that point, what legally, as a district, do we do if someone, because I had this conversation the other day with someone concerning the FSA, like, are they required to do end of the year testing or just a portfolio type work?
They may do testing or portfolio.
So if a homeschool family or parent chooses to do nothing, what as a district is our next step to DOE or?
So at the end of a year, we send them a letter that says, we need your evaluation. Some parents are really good. They
Right.
bring them in before we even send the letter out. But after one calendar year, we are required by the state to send out notification if we have not gotten an evaluation. We send that notification out. After 30 days, if we don't get that evaluation, then we send a certified letter out saying we've not received your evaluation, you must turn it in. If we don't get that back, we send another certified letter that says your child has not, you've not documented the amount of progress that your child needs, your child must report back to school. But then that's it. And we have some that we've sent those letters to, and we get nothing back. But we don't have anybody to send out to try to go get them. And so these folks would be very helpful to be able to go out and say, your child needs to go back to school.
Right. If it's at the high school level, then you have the driver's license and all that can be
Right, right.
looked into. But no, it is that's a big situation. I mean, it's a big deal because in maybe the avenue, I mean, if a parent wants to homeschool, I respect that. I mean, I think it's great. But I think we should let them know that they still can do that and use a curriculum through Florida Virtual School and still, I mean, the curriculum can be through us and they can still homeschool and have a curriculum that they're following. I mean,
Yes.
I have a master's degree and I wouldn't dare think of doing that and knowing, I mean, what I know is how do you know you're covering all that you need to cover? I mean, that's the issue about it.
Right.
That's the issue. I mean, anybody could do it, but especially parents who are teachers I mean, anybody can do it. But again, as someone who works in the school, I would want to know that I am doing all I can for my child and not having a curriculum. I don't know how that would be doing all you can do. And I'm willing to bet there are many of these homeschool parents on this list who have no curriculum and are using stuff you buy at the Learning Tree or Walmart or Sam's or Costco, and that's not a curriculum. That's supplemental. That's what you should be
Right.
doing as enrichment, not a curriculum.
Well, and that's when their portfolio, comes into play. They have to have a certified teacher to sign off on that portfolio. And so, some have been able to provide that and others have not. And that's, a teacher won't sign off on stuff that they look at and they go, that's not grade level appropriate curriculum.
And the thing about the virtual, I mean, it is grade level. And if you're wanting to do the homeschool, then that would be an avenue for the parent. That would be no cost to them, because I think that the Becca and the other programs can be pricey. And that would be an avenue where you knew that you were on grade level material and it would guide the parent through it in the modules where it would be something easy that they could follow.
Right.
I mean, it's not fair to the student to be at home and, I mean, at some point, and again, I'm not getting in a battle with the homeschoolers because a lot of them do a great job. But the ones who are doing their job do a great job. But there are some who do nothing, and that, in my mind, is almost neglect, or it would be neglect, parental neglect. And so, I mean, as a board member, I think that group should be one of our first targets where at least we're reaching out to, and those would be the ones who are not tied up in our FTE.
Right, right.
That financially, that we're going to have to take a hard look at this if numbers don't come back up with everything else
Right.
we're going through with the increase in minimum wage and all that. I mean, we're going to have to, from a financial standpoint, but again, the homeschool and your distance learning who are not participating, I mean, they should be back in. If you're not participating, you should go back to school. And I realize that we're in a pandemic, and I realize that people can catch things. But if we look at the number of students, actual students at our school sites who have had this, it's at a low rate. We've had people who have been in contact with people, and they've gone home to contact tracing, but we haven't had an outbreak where hundreds of students have had COVID. Even at the school I work at, that's not so. I can't tell you how many have had it because it's not that great of a number. People have gone home due to contact tracing and being around someone who may have had it, and you may have a whole class going, but what the students are losing in direct instruction, I mean, you have to weigh the risk, and for students who are already behind, you're talking about never being able to catch them up, especially if they're fourth or fifth graders who can't read. And they miss a year and a half of instruction. I mean, I don't know what you do to catch them up. I mean, you know that from the high school, when you
Oh, yeah.
get students
It's
at that age and they can't read, and they already were multiple grade levels behind, I mean, they need direct instruction. They need it. And I think we need to do all we can, and I'm glad that we have these individuals coming to try to help bring kids back.
And Robin, one more thing. You said that you'll send out these letters, you know, the certified letters and all that. And then basically what happens if they do nothing? I mean, is it illegal to prevent your child from getting an education?
Yeah,
Or
yes,
is that a very gray area? In other words, I am educating them.
it is gray.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like
School is mandatory
Well,
until
yeah,
you're
and-
16.
Yeah, till they're 16, they have to,
so they have to be then.
they have to participate in an education program.
Right.
That's very clear. If they're allowed to do homeschooling under certain conditions that Robin's just talked about, where they have to give portfolios.
Right.
If they don't do that, the law says they're supposed to come back to regular school. All of that, I think, is very, very clear. What's kind of unclear and murky and difficult is if they just sit down and say, I'm not doing it, okay, now what? Do we go arrest them? I mean,
That's what I'm wondering.
It's the enforcement. I don't think it's unclear as to whether the law says they have to be at school. It's unclear as to what you actually do.
What you do. I
And
mean, the child's the one missing out on the whole thing.
Absolutely.
They're the innocent victim.
That's maybe where it's with the legislature, and maybe that's why DOE's want this additional information where they can have some empirical data to go back and say, this number of students are not.
Right. But I think the one thing that I don't know that we've ever tried is what the superintendent's talking about right now, which is send a human being out to their house, sit down and talk with them.
Right.
Hey, guys, come on, we gotta do something here.
Right,
We've
when I'm-
called several times, but it's time to have that personal contact.
Yeah.
We did maybe back years ago when Miss McGee was a truancy officer. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
no,
she
they
went
did.
out.
Right.
She would go out, but again, that's been maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
Right.
We-
Since she's been.
One of the things that, I did talk to the state attorney about prosecuting parents when their kids are not coming to school. Basically what he explained to me was, you have to have a lot of documentation that you have, that the district has done what we needed to do to get those parents there. And part of that, you know, is not just calling the parent and saying, you need to bring your child. It is that personal contact. And so we feel like we've worked over the last month or so going back and revamping our whole truancy procedures so that we can provide the documentation that the state attorney needs. And with the way that we've reworked things and put in tracking forms and documentation, we feel like now if we take it to the state attorney, that he will say, okay, this is one that we can prove that the parent is not doing what they're supposed to do. But, you know, for us, he said, you're looking at it from an educator's point of view. I have to look at it from a legal standpoint and evidence. And you're not providing, the district is not providing us with good enough evidence for this to go to court. And so we're working on that so that we have put a process in place that is easy to document, but it does require, you know, someone making those personal visits so that, you know, it's not, well, we couldn't get in touch with them on the phone, or we couldn't, you know, who did we talk to? Well, it wasn't the mama or whatever. So those folks who are going to be going out will have to document every visit they make and the things that were discussed, and a form has to be filled out and signed by both parties so that we have the documentation that we've done what we were supposed to.
We have to show a good faith effort that we've done everything we can to
Right.
try to, and it has to be documented that we're trying to get them to come, and if they choose not to, then at that point, we could probably do some type of charges. But again, I think it's a great idea, and we need to, I'm all for of whoever the people are named, whoever you choose, and we can vote on them at our next meeting, so they can go ahead and start.
Now, we want them to start before the next meeting
Yeah,
because.
but, I mean, we could just vote on them after the
We'll
fact.
bring the names to you after the fact.
How many do you think it takes you all?
We were looking at one for each outlying community and probably 2 in town.
So that's a total of 5.
Yes.
Okay. And so I think, and let me make sure I'm getting this, I think what y'all are saying is that the superintendent's gonna go ahead and hire those folks as soon as she can hire them, and then she's gonna bring it back though at the next meeting, and y'all will ratify what she did, right? So she can go ahead and hire folks.
And we'd like someone from each community because they need to know the area and they need to know, have a general idea of the family backgrounds and that kind of information so that, we're kind of getting into this late into the ballgame. They can't spend a lot of time learning that. They have to already know it.
No, I think it's a great idea, and again, for years, have harped on truancy, and again, at some point, it goes to the legislators where they have to put something in legislation with a little more bite than what we can provide. That's the reality of it. A couple years ago, I addressed the delegation when they came here to town concerning it, and again, it has to be something more than what we can do. But that's been a problem here in the district for years, and this COVID has just made it a little bit worse, I think. So with that being said, is there a motion to approve the parent contact specialist contract?
I move to approve the parent.
Okay.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Ms. Bell. Any further discussion?
I just want to add that I think that personal contact hopefully will make a difference. It may even inspire someone or reassure somebody and say, yes, they can go back to school or we'll do something. It's better than a letter in the mail, let's put it that way.
And Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, included in that motion is to authorize the superintendent to go ahead and hire 5 of them, and then y'all will ratify that at your next.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And also, just to, which I know that they will, but to to the homeschool parents, that there is an option that they could do virtual to have a curriculum through the district where, maybe they don't realize they have that option.
And they can do virtual for just a few things.
Right.
They can do virtual for math and then teach the
Right.
history department, whatever.
Just so where possibly we could recoup some FTE, possibly. Okay, with that being said, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Ms. Bell. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approved.
Ms. Bell,
Approved.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
and I approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
And one thing, Mr. Chairman, before we leave, we don't need a budget amendment or anything for that, that's already budgeted?
It's okay. It's in that grant.
Oh, okay, it's grant funded.
It's grant funded.
CARES and SAI. Okay, with that being said, that's through items of individual consideration. 6.1, superintendent items, Ms. Joseph.
Okay, Mr. Chair, there's a couple of things. One thing, tomorrow is Inauguration Day for our 46th president, and I did send out a note to all our administrators and ask them to share with their staff, and I'm just going to read it to you. It says, the inauguration of Joe Biden as the 46th president of the United States is at 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, January 20, 2021. It will mark the commencement of the 4-year term of Joe Biden as president and Kamala Harris as vice president. The theme is America United. Feel free to allow teachers to air this historic event and watch it with their students in their classroom. The inauguration ceremony begins at 11:30 a.m. and the presidential oath is taken at noon. So the principals have given their teachers permission, if they wish, to air this in their classroom. We are not making it mandatory. but it is a historical event, it's part of history. Okay, there's one thing I have for you. Another thing, Mr. Carroll had been asking me about the return to play. Oh, let me go, before I go there, I want to tell you about, the union has ratified the proposal for the teacher enhancement funds. And our next step is that we have to submit it to the state along with the charter schools proposal. And then they will get back with us, and then that's when the funds will be dispersed. But we've done all we can do right now. It's at the state level, and then they'll get back with us. And we're not the Lone Ranger being so late doing this. Okay, Mr. Carroll had asked me about, the return to play plans for the schools that have spring sports. And what I have for you is the high school's return to play, and he's concerned also about the attendance. And for the baseball at the high school level, they addressed attendance. It says that they're currently working on a plan for game day fan attendance. Because with the basketball, we have limited attendance only to team members, will work with the team, and parents. That was for basketball because that was in a closed setting in a gym. Okay, these others are outside, but we still need to be cognizant of the space. And so, baseball at the high school, they have addressed it, and the central school baseball, softball, they've addressed attendance. The others have not addressed attendance, but you have each one of their plans listed.
Well, here's my thing on athletic,
Yes,
on returning to play.
yes,
You know, all of them's got their return to play plan, you know, and it's basically, you know, everybody needs to do the same thing. You know, you got, most all of them are, and I don't know what
which one are you on?
I'm on softball right now, but it says, what is a COVID waiver? What is that?
Okay, at the beginning of school, this is something that we did during the summer because our nation, not just our county, our school, our nation is suit happy. Okay? Basically, you're playing at your own risk. If we put forth the precautions as necessary, okay, I don't know how much weight that holds, but it just make us feel good.
I was just wondering what it was.
But it says that if you choose to go out there and play, just
your own
like,
risk.
And you know the
okay,
your own
you know your risk, you understand your risk, just like taking the COVID shot. They make you sign this waiver, okay? That's what that is.
Another thing though is, you know, all of, I think every sport should have the same, return to practice plan. I mean, everybody needs to give the temperatures and checks and all of them is that way but one.
Which one is
Tennis
that?
is not. Tennis don't have any of that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is we could, I mean, I know each coach done their own, I understand that.
Okay,
But you could tell the ones that was sitting by each other when they was doing it. Cause you know, it's
Are we
kinda-
still
which
even
is
doing
fine.
temperature checks?
pardon me?
Are we still doing,
Yes, we are. Every morning, go
I
out to
got-
the high school.
I got it at the Central
You
today.
can vouch for that this morning.
Yes.
I will speak with the athletic director and the principal about
I just
that.
think it ought to be the whole thing. I mean, everybody do the same thing. I mean, cause everybody's outside, everybody's needs to do, I just think it needs to be the same thing. Now, that's me personally.
Avoid confusion.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right.
Right.
Be consistent.
And then about the attendance,
Yes,
listen, athletics depends on ticket money to run, to survive, and I'm not saying open it up to everybody, but I'm just saying we need to be able to allow people to come and buy a ticket and get in there. I'm just, you know,
But we also need to be cognizant of
I understand
proximity.
that. I do, I understand all that, but listen, and you on the outside now, and I know me and you butted heads a little bit about this basketball attendance.
Yep.
Cause we got the biggest gym in the area, and everybody else is loading theirs up, and we got 5 people. You know, so what I'm saying is, I think that, you know, we got resource officers that goes to the games. We got all that. We could still have attendance and be socially distanced and do it right. You know, somebody gonna have to be responsible for making sure that happens, you know, and still have some attendance where our teams can generate some revenue. So, you know, because, you know, there's officials to pay for, there's uniforms to get, I don't, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, but we can't, I don't think it's legal to use taxpayers' dollars to do athletics. I know where I'm at up there, it is.
We have not put any limitation on attendance at these spring sports, outside
Oh,
sports.
I know, but it don't have any.
I mean, we haven't put any
Oh,
limitations
I
on.
know, I'm just saying.
Okay.
You know, like I said,
Okay.
you know, and I, you know, it's all right if I
Okay.
and you tell me, and I disagree about the basketball, because I do.
Well,
I think we're on the same page other than basketball.
Where I think the issue may come up at any given time with any of the sports, if you have 150 kids at the high school on isolation, then of course you're going to limit the attendance, because who's going to be at the gate making sure that not one of those 150 hadn't showed up at a game? I mean, would that be the SRO's job? I mean, I think
That's
from,
overtime for them.
but again, I think from where you're coming from with the basketball, that's why you made those choices, is we had so many kids who were quarantined at the high school, and what we've been through with the health department, at some point, they're going to step in on this if we have that many kids who are quarantined and say, no, we're not having all these people here in this building.
Right, I agree with that, but you can still, I mean, you can still go 20% capacity.
But again, who's going to be at the gate monitoring of that 180 who's quarantined, that none of them or their family hadn't got into the gym?
Here's what, you know, we have to do, because I have to do that too. I'm the athletic director, and the principal has to be there, and, you know, we the one to monitor. If one comes that's been quarantined, then we send them home. You see what I'm saying? It's not, I don't think it's fair for our kids that's getting to play, that have to play to a practically empty gym,
Right.
because we got some kids that want to come that are quarantined, where, you know, I just think it's a resource officer, athletic director, principal, teacher in charge, ever who is at the gate. That's the way we do, is at the gate, and if one of them shows up, which they have, we just send them back to the house.
Unfortunately, here in town, and probably in every town, people who are being in close contact or exposed, or with even COVID, aren't choosing to stay home and isolate. They're choosing to go out and still be in the streets, even unmasked with COVID. And so that's the unfortunate part. And I don't know that, again, I just think that it would be a nightmare for the school to have to try to monitor all the people and family members or close contacts who possibly had come in contact with it. I mean,
Well, hopefully after this year, and I know where you're coming from, Frankie. I mean, if I was a parent, of course, the parents are allowed to go, right? The parents are allowed to be in the gym.
They are.
Yeah, and I know they want to have the people cheer them on, they deserve it, but I think this is an unusual year, and hopefully we can
understand that.
get through this, and next year we'll start fresh. I
I
hope.
think outside sports is a lot different than the basketball. I understand that.
Yeah, that's,
You know,
but even in outside sports, you're going to need to have their seating areas marked off where there's distance between and not everyone piled up in the same close space. I mean, which again, you are outside compared to being inside, but if you're at a baseball game and it's a rival game and you have the bleachers are packed with people shoulder to shoulder, I don't know how that's,
Well, I wouldn't, I mean, I would, you know, I would limit the capacity of it, you know, whether it's send the visiting team this many tickets and, you know, they bring you a check when they come and that's all they can bring, or do all of it online, or things like that. I would limit the amount. I wouldn't open it just wide open, but, you know.
no, it would need to be limited because I don't know how you would stop people once they got there. I mean, that would be a nightmare for someone. I mean, football worked out with us doing the limited capacity. That seemed to,
I didn't have any complaints about
no,
that.
there were no complaints with that. And
But even at the football game, them cats was on that fence, they wasn't social distancing.
I need to confess, I only went to one game and I stayed to halftime. Cause I'm of that vulnerable age and I need to protect myself as much as possible.
Vulnerable age.
Okay, Mr. Chair, that's all I have to say.
okay, thank you, Ms. Joseph. Attorney Adams,
I have one thing. I want to give you a little bit of an update on the rite of passage lawsuit. As y'all may remember, rite of passage sued the district and has sued the district. We're in a lawsuit right now over their contract for the 18-19 school year. The contract, they were providing services to the district, educating kids and all that, and they were supposed to be paid a certain amount for that. They filed a lawsuit saying they weren't paid what they think they deserve to be paid, et cetera. Now, the time when all this came up was the time we were in the process of switching superintendents. We switched financial officers, et cetera. It was hard to put together the documents that showed what they were supposed to be paid and what they actually were paid. But thanks to the superintendent and Ms. Hill and lots of hard work by financial staff, we were able to do that. Anyway, one of the issues that happened was in the spring term, they went from an in-person instructional model to a online instructional model. And under that model, we were only to get FTE for the students who successfully completed those courses, as opposed to the students which attended. Our contract with rite of passage said they got a percentage of the FTE we got. So it greatly reduced the amount of money they were supposed to get. Now, after we got all the documents together, I sent a letter to opposing counsel and set all this out and gave them copies of the documents that showed this. From my calculations, it showed that in fact they owed us back about $11,000 in this. Anyway, I've sent all that to them. He sent me an email back a week or two back, which I copied the superintendent on, that said, "Oh wait, that's not right. Everybody was going to virtual instruction at that time, and DOE didn't make you do this where you only got paid for the successful completion." Well, anyway, it was obvious to me that he was confusing spring 19 with spring 20. The spring term 2020 was when COVID hit, and that's when DOE said, yes, you can get paid for children who just attend virtual school, as opposed to the normal way where you get paid just for them successfully completing it, which is that's the way it's been as long as I've known anything about it. Anyway, I have not gotten any movement on that. What I would like to do, there's something you can do in litigation. It's called a proposal for settlement, and you can send that out. And what I'd like to do is do a proposal for settlement where saying that we will settle it by paying them $10. Now, what's the point of that? Well, the point of that is that's basically everybody walks away from the lawsuit. They have 30 days to accept it, and if they accept it, we really do have to pay them $10, but the lawsuit's over. If they don't accept it and we go forward and they don't beat that offer, the proposal for settlement at trial, then they owe our attorney's fees back, right? So it's an incentive to help them, to give them incentive to really look at it hard over the 30 days. And I think it would be a good move to do, but of course I can't offer settlement without y'all telling me that it's okay to do that. So that's what I would like to do. I think the issue too is, the further we go with this, the more attorney's fees this board's gonna incur from me and all of that. And I think if we can get it settled and move on, I think that'd be the best thing.
So the 11,000 that they owe us would probably be eaten up by attorney fees if we were to try to.
Yes, and remember now that my best calculation is they owe us back 11,000. It's not necessarily crystal clear based upon our documents, but that's exactly what I think that's right, and I think we can prove that in court. But it's not. There are some issues.
But even at that, we could end up, even if we were to go to court or trial and win, we still could come out by losing in that our attorney fees were
Yeah.
more than
Absolutely.
the $10 or the $11,000.
Absolutely. And always remember, and I haven't, thank goodness I haven't had to give you all my litigation speech for a long time. But, with a lawsuit, there's no guarantees with a lawsuit. What happens with a lawsuit is I do my best, I present the evidence we have, we bring everybody in, they testify, they tell the truth, we present all the documents, and then in the end, the judge does what the judge does. And, so there's no guarantees. I think we have a good case. It's certainly not that I think there's anything wrong with our case or we can't prove it, but I think financially, you're gonna be better off if we try to go ahead and settle.
Do we need to amend the agenda to have this under a vote, Mr. Reeves?
I don't think so. I think just by consensus, y'all can tell me it's okay to do that. But I just, I can't make those offers. I wouldn't make those kind of offers without y'all telling me it was okay.
Okay, we'll do a poll. Mr. Carroll, how do you feel?
I'm willing to go along with it.
Ms. Bell?
With us breaking even, I'm with it too.
Fine with me.
Ms. Gibson? Ms. Williamson?
Yes, go ahead.
I too agree that we should do the proposal of settlement.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. Reeves?
And that's all I have. Yes.
Okay, glad you're well and back with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Board member items, Mr. Carroll?
Just glad to get this new year going with 2021 and look forward to this COVID stuff getting behind us. Just moving forward.
Okay. Ms. Bell? Ms. Bell? Nothing?
Okay.
Ms. Gibson?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. I'm the representative from the board for our insurance trust with Thisbit, which takes care of our insuring our buildings and workman comp claims. We had a Zoom meeting the other day, Mrs. Joseph and I attended. It was a 4-hour meeting. And Andrea Messina, the president of the Florida School Board Association, spoke. She was one of the speakers. And she made this statement, and I thought I'd share it with you. She said they expect a $3 billion shortfall in the budget for the next 2 years. Every part of the budget will be affected, and the federal relief will not be filling in the shortfall. So we're really not on easy street if we even think we might be. We're very careful with the money, but we'll have to be extra careful. And one more thing, I've been approached by a few people who weren't sure if history or civics was being taught in the public schools. Well, after talking with Mrs. Hill and Mrs. Joseph, I've gotten an education on all this. But yes, history and civics are taught in our schools. Actually, it begins in kindergarten and it continues on. In order to graduate from Florida Public High School, you must have 3 credits in social studies. 1 credit will be world history, 1 credit is American history, U.S., 0.5 credit in the U.S. government, and a 0.5 credit in economics. As far as civics goes, that's it goes across the grades, starting in kindergarten. The state requires to teach them and document where we teach them. 7th graders are also required to take civics and pass the state exam. And starting next year, high school. Now, did you say high school graduate or a high school student will be taking? High school, yeah. They have to do it before they graduate. So in order to graduate, they'll also have to have a civics class. So just letting you know, just in case you weren't sure. And, I mean, it was good to, the information, I gave you some information, actually, about the civics. It was interesting to me. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Ms. Williamson, do you have anything?
I don't have anything, except, is Miss, I want to ask Miss Bishop, can we turn in our donation to the Teacher of the Year banquet to you like we did last year, or do we need to just go through them?
They haven't approached me, but if you want to turn it in to me, I'll be happy to hold it and give it to them.
Okay.
Ms. Williamson, is there a banquet this year?
We'll let Ms. Hill can report on that.
Okay,
It's going to be done virtually.
okay,
They are still trying to get sponsors because they're getting the signs printed to go up around town and signs for the.
And it's February the 4th, so it's coming up pretty quick.
it's February the 4th.
I just got the letter today, so the letters have been sent out.
How will I do a virtual cake this year?
Well, watch you eat it, Marty.
Send them a picture and send us a picture.
I have to
also.
deliver it.
It's a video, their little part.
Uh-huh.
And so if you want to have a cake here, we'll picture this.
Just give them.
Okay, that'll be good. Thank you. I didn't realize that was coming up. So February the 4th is the virtual Teacher of the Year. Okay. Is that it, Ms. Williamson?
That's all.
Okay, I would like to wish every employee within the district a happy new year, filled with safety and good health. I too, along with Ms. Gibson, I think we all as a board need to be very cognizant of what's coming ahead with possible, with just what's coming ahead with, I know Ms. Joseph and Ms. Hill has worked on with just our minimum wage going up the dollar per year. Well, with the new COVID plan that's in place right now, it possibly could go up to $15 immediately. So if that were to happen, we're going to have.
We can't do it immediately. We can phase it in.
Well, what I'm saying is, in the
Yes.
COVID relief plan by President-elect Biden, it's for immediate $15 an hour. So as a district, those types of things, I don't know where, we may have to go into some type of workshop at some point where we sit down and look at the big picture of things. I know we're going to be up for a contract renegotiation with the union. Again, we're charting a lot of uncharted waters, and we just need to be proactive with looking at the big picture. Again, no one even really realizes this minimum wage issue. It really, we want to pay everyone as much as we can, but unfortunately, the state is not sending additional monies to go up with these increases. And we as a district are going to have to make cuts in order to have these increases. $1 a year may be something we could work with due to people retiring and us not hiring people back, possibly. But if we have to go to the big jump all of a sudden, I mean, just in our subs alone, I don't know how we would afford it within the district, as many subs and as much as we pay out to subs a year, and knowing that minimum wage is $7 something an hour.
$8.65 in Florida.
Okay, so.
As of January 1, it's $8.65.
So we could say we're paying, like, maybe we would end up, if it goes to 15, up to over $6 an hour more per person per hour. And that would be a significant increase just in subs, not counting any other employee within the district who maybe is not at that point. So again, once all of that comes to light and we see what's going to happen with any things that may pass on the federal level, we probably do need to sit down and have a workshop with the board and with financial numbers and directors in here to really look at all programs to see where we're at and what possibly could be, because that could affect us in a significant way, very significant.
I like that idea, because the way they, and Mrs. Joseph heard it just like I did. I mean, when they said there will be cuts, and they're expecting it, this is going to happen.
And the whole thing about the increases in like minimum wage, that the money has to come from somewhere, and at no point have I heard the state saying they're going to give us additional monies to cover that. I mean, the same with the beginning teacher. I mean, that on the back burner even worries me to some extent that we get what we need to cover that we've just gone up to that amount. So again, I just think it's something that we need to be proactive, that we don't wind up in a situation like we were 2 years ago in a reactive mode. That's all I have to say. With that being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Expulsion.
Is there a motion to adjourn? We have an expulsion hearing following our regular meeting.
I move to adjourn.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Ms. Bell. All those in favor, Mr. Carroll?
Approved.
Ms. Bell?
Approved.
Ms. Gibson?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approve.
Okay, and I approve also, Ms. Bishop. The regular meeting has been dismissed at this time, and we will close at this time. We will open it back for an expulsion hearing, which is closed to the public.